So thank you for joining today's session. It's our first webinar, and it's organized and hosted by Anaiya Group. So what is Anaiya? So Anaiya is a data and AI consultancy and also an AI academy. We help future-focused organizations innovate with clarity and lead with purpose. We also empower professionals with their data and AI development and training. So we provide end-to-end AI transformations through our three integrated pillars. As I mentioned before, we have our data and AI consultancy, AI academy, and our algorithm podcast, where we interview senior leaders in the tech industry and also other leaders who are also talking excited about data and AI and also sharing their gold nuggets on strategy and digital transformation. So our academy bridges the gap between AI potential and practical knowledge. We have our mission being to democratize access to world-class AI education across all demographics and professional levels. And we support our team and all the people who attend our training through community support and networking, self-paced learning options. And we do ensure that you have hands-on learning experience and support you with industry recognized credentials. And some of our speakers today are actively involved in our panel, in our academy. So we've got 4 AI learning pathways as part of our academy. A personal and lifelong learners, where we support people who are AI curious to get in AI confident. We also support educational ecosystems, so both those who work in the educational system and also the younger ones. And the whole idea is to prepare the next generation for an AI-driven world. We've got more details on our AI learning pathways on our website, so you can go check them out. We do also support senior leaders and executives with a 6-week AI leadership excellence. This is where we encourage and support them with targeted training to help them from strategy to business impact. Then we've got our mission critical professionals. So if you work in the healthcare and any other critical practice area, you definitely want to be part of our mission critical professionals program, where we support you with ethical AI implementation. Core features across our curriculum is AI literacy. And I always say, it's not just about AI, it's data. So data and AI literacy. Then you've got the practical application. So depending on your professional skills, we provide you with hands-on skills to help you with developing AI tools and also using them efficiently. And underpinning all of that is our ethical frameworks. So responsible AI implementation is key for us. So now I'm excited to introduce our 4 esteemed panelists for today's panel discussion. We've got Hamed, Edtech leader, TEDx speaker, author, social entrepreneur. He's awesome. He's doing some amazing stuff, and he's currently in the US. And I can't wait to have you share what you've got from your side. We've got Abena Akuffo-Kelly, who is an amazing educationist, union activist, and consultant, previous mayor of Folkestone. Elinor Doubell, my amazing friend, previous manager at VP, and she is a VP Research and Development. And also Toby. Toby is an awesome executive, senior leader in the tech industry, a founder, strategist, and thought leader. I promised you it was going to be an amazing session with awesome speakers. So to ensure that I don't spend all the time trying to introduce them, I'll let them introduce themselves. Hamed, could you start by giving us a quick intro?
Thank you, Magda. It's great to be here. My name is Kayode Alabi, and I'm the founder and the co-CEO of the Kayode Alabi Initiative, an initiative that was born out of my own experience that was access to education, skills, and opportunities to join in reserved communities and displaced camps and change the circumstances they've inherited. And I've done that work through activity-based bootcamp, through launching an Edtech platform and learning resources that democratizes access to 21st century skills. And more recently, I launched Graffiti AI, which is the first African generative AI career advisor and counselor for the South and displaced young people that is currently actually being used now in 54 countries. So I would probably keep it that way. And yeah, I look forward to sharing more later on. But it's great to be here and great to meet all the esteemed panelists as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Hamed. Abena.
So I'm Abena Akuffo-Kelly. As Magda said, I am the former mayor of Folkestone, but I'm also the former chair of Folkestone and Hythe District Council. I am a local government councillor. I do a lot of things in politics, so I train with Labour Women's Network. I also am a social entrepreneur as well. So I run a CIC that's all about sustainability and loneliness. And I will be working with Magda on the academy as well, devising the training and also delivering the training. So I'm really, really excited about that. But I have a portfolio career, so there are many other things that I work in, but EDI, ethics is my bag. Thank you.
Amazing. Thanks, Abena. Elinor.
Hello, Magda. So I'm I guess what you'd call a senior advisor. I'm a former VP of digital science at BP, as you said. So my career has really been about unlocking commercial potential from emerging technologies, including AI. And my leadership experience goes from global digital transformation to disruptive tech development. So I've overseen world firsts in hydrogen sensing and in AI, so autonomy for renewable energy. And I've worked in manufacturing and the energy sector and advised at FTSE 100 level. And my favourite techie topics are AI for all, anything to do with energy and climate.
Nice.
There you go.
Do you know, I thought you were going to add robotics, but yeah.
Oh, well, yes. So, okay, I include robotics because for me, AI is kind of like the brain for the robot. So yes, I should say robotics as well. So AI applied to anything, including robotics.
Robotics
and
innovation.
Yes, and innovation. So on that front, I have just started some of my time a role with Innovate UK as a scale-up director. So I'm really focused on helping innovative UK startups to grow their businesses and to scale.
Awesome. Thanks, Elinor. Hi, Toby.
Hello, how you doing?
Very good. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you. I'll try and do a brief one. So, Toby Goldblatt, I've run a whole bunch of AI businesses over the last 12 years globally, working across various different sectors, with the most fun engagements being with those where we're doing things that are making a massive human impact. So looking at computer vision for wildlife protection, using AI for energy optimization. But my real passion is around next generation talent and building the appropriate AI skills and capabilities and mindset really around some of the topics around ethics and explainability that can be used. And to do that, I also health exec in residence at UCL, where I support their crew as well. And I've done corporates and startups and a lot of crazy things in the middle.
I love that the way you said crazy things. Awesome. So I think we're ready now. And since you started, Toby, in 30 seconds, what was your biggest AI anxiety before you became AI confident? And what specific moments transformed that anxiety into confidence?
Do you want me to go first? Is that?
Yes.
I'm still anxious. We all are at the moment, aren't we? I'm still anxious. And I'm still not AI competent because the technology moves so fast. I'd suggest so. I think what I mean is it's always an environment of learning, but also not being fearful that you don't have the full range of all knowledge in all disciplines at the point in time.
Awesome. Elinor, do you want to share your point?
Yes, I totally agree, Toby. I think it is an area that inspires and also causes concern. So for me, it's about getting AI engaged and getting on the pitch, so that you can have a chance to keep up and understand the implications and both good and bad. So and for me, it was getting my hands dirty and getting stuck in on leading a program which was using very early stage AI for enterprise search. And the reason I mention that is I think it's about getting practical, because then you start to get under the surface of some of your concerns and start to understand really what's going on, even if it's in, you know, a small chunk of the massive breadth that is AI.
Awesome. Abena, your turn.
Yeah, so, you know, there's that saying, you know, feel the fear and do it anyway. And yes, there is a fear. You know, we've all watched Terminator, and a lot of us, you know, are worried about AI taking over. But I love using analogies. But if you hide your head in the sand, it's still going to happen. So um, so instead of, you know, letting it wash past you and just ignoring it, something which is still going to happen, is inevitable. It's important to actually take part in it and be able to affect the change that maybe is making you feel fearful.
Yeah.
To actually make sure that the things that you fear are designed out of it.
Awesome.
So that's where I'm coming from.
Please bring more analogies. It always makes sense, right? Once you have analogy, it's easy to pick it up. Thank you, Abena. Hamed.
I think it's a very important aspect also of like AI solutions to, you know, when you look at that question, especially when you work with a marginalized group, you should think from it from the perspective of proximity. So when I think of proximity, I'm looking at what are people used to already, what are they good at already, what are they using already. So for example, low-end technology, so WhatsApp, it's like how do you then integrate AI into the day-to-day interaction of people, what people are already using, in a way that is ethical, obviously, in a way that it doesn't unnecessarily collect people's data. And I think when we can integrate AI into low-end technology, into what people are already using, I think people then can move from anxiety to confidence and that's why I think about proximity. So whenever we think about AI, especially when people are fearful, it's like, you know, how do we get us closer to what they already know? And I think it also works for any kind of technology or any kind of solution you want to create, is that you want to bring it close to like what people already know, proximity, and then they move from that anxiety. You know, it's like you're using like kind of like exposure therapy, you're exposing them to something already bit by bit, and before you know, they build their confidence to something that they can now start using in AI for more complex tasks and for more high level, you know, thinking and support and all. But I think when I think about anxiety and confidence, I think in the middle of anxiety and confidence is proximity.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. So, Abner, many of our attendees feel anxious about AI replacing them or making mistakes. Based on your experience implementing AI in government and education, how do you transform that anxiety into practical confidence?
Yeah, so as I've said before, it's only human nature to have a fear of the unknown. In fact, if you don't fear something new, then there's something wrong, because we know that if there's something that we're not familiar with, there's going to be learning that needs to take place. And that's something which takes time, but also you don't know. It's the fear of the unknown. You don't know what's going to come of it. So it's absolutely fine. Take ownership of that fear. That's absolutely fine. One of the things that I want to talk about, research from the Tony Blair Institute shows that people who use AI weekly are 20% more likely to see it as an opportunity. So start using it, embrace it. And the thing is also is to start thinking about it rather than something which is going to replace you. It's something which is going to enhance your judgment, the human judgment. So I remember when I used to teach students about the difference between when I was at university and I used to had to go to the library to go and do my research, and I would have to find the books that I had to use to be able to actually put that together. And then the internet started and we could do a Google search. That is just an enhancement. It's not an either or. You continue doing the research, but you're starting at a higher level. So it's not the case that you don't have to do anything and you become as a human obsolete. It's the fact that some of the things that were more mediocre were more sort of the sort of hard work, hard slog is done for you, and then you can start at a higher level. So that's one way of thinking about it. And the Department of Education actually says that one of the ways that AI can be used in education is for teacher marking, for feedback and lesson planning, so that the teachers can focus more on the interactions with the students. So again, it's not making you obsolete in your role. And then the next thing is to make sure that you build confidence. So as I said at the beginning, start with something really simple. Start with something which is low risk. Start with summarizing some notes that you've written down. Rather than thinking about the high level stuff, start with that. And as soon as you start and you realize that time that it's saving for you to be able to do other things which are higher level, then you'll start working on it. But also think about the responsible AI use. So do some research about how you can do it responsibly. So, because one of the things that people are worried about is losing their data or their data being used against them or so on. So you can do some research about that as well, and how you can keep your data safe whilst you're still using that AI. So again, there's nothing wrong with being anxious. There's nothing wrong with being fearful. That's what happens whenever we're starting something new. But take, a few tentative steps and then
Yeah.
see how you feel after you've done that.
Awesome. Thanks, Abena. Toby, in healthcare implementation, what specific steps help technical teams move from fear to confidence?
In healthcare, okay, so I describe it as the 99% versus the 80%. So a lot of AI use cases, you can actually drive huge performance benefits with 80% accuracy. But in healthcare, there's always a strive for 99% accuracy. So there's an increased reliance on the quality training and tuning of the activities. In fact, it's more than 99% actually. So there's a significant difference in the rigor and training. Now that has two benefits. One is it's designed to increase accuracy, but often it stifles innovation and stifles other use cases. So there are pros and cons with these things. I'll give you one stat and insight which may shock. So there was a model a year or so ago called BioGPT, and BioGPT was given a diagnostic test, and it got 81% accuracy, which everybody thought, yeah, that's pretty good, but it's not great, until you realize that human doctors only seem to get those things right 80% of the time. Now, what's more fearful, that a model gets it right 81, or that a doctor and a system that we've been using for hundreds of years only gets it right 80%? And I think that gives a challenge of AI, because it's not around the quality of the AI, it's around the quality and experience of the AI related to our current way of experiencing those kind of activities.
Yeah.
So there you go.
That's awesome. Thank you. And Hamed, I know you've done some awesome work as well, scaling across Africa. How do you help people overcome AI anxiety in different cultural contexts?
Again, I think for me, it's also like, the work that you do even before, even creating an AI solution, for example, as a creator myself, I think it's very important for us to like go through a form of rigor. I think people have talked about rigor here. And that rigor involves actually engaging people who you're designing for in that process. And I think, once you engage, you get insight, you get the fear, you get the anxiety, and then you start creating experience that actually help people to overcome those anxiety as well. Because again, I work with like children and young people in like rural communities, underserved communities, displaced camps. And for me, it's more or less like even beyond um, building an AI solution and getting them to use AI. It's also like engaging them in that process as well. Going into those communities, teaching them prompting, how do you prompt,
Yeah.
and all of those basic little things that you teach people. I could recall it was last year, even I went to the slum that I was born and raised, Makoko, and I was working with some of the kids there, and I just said, okay, they've never heard about ChatGPT before. Like they don't even know that there's something called Gen AI. They don't even know, like they've not added about AI. So I said, okay, I'm going to do something today, everyone. I shared my story, and then I opened the ChatGPT, and they also opened their laptop because they've gotten a laptop from the school that they are in, because it's like a non-profit school in a way.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I asked them that, um, tell me type of soil, and then they type of soil there, and then they're like, oh, I don't understand this. Then I asked them to like explain to like they should explain the kind of soil they want to see. based on what they've seen in their environment, and they started writing things, and they started getting different type of story that they've never seen in their curriculum. And all of a sudden, they started searching about London. All of a sudden, they started searching about other things. And just a single prompt, opened up pathways to other opportunities.
Yeah.
You move from anxiety to curiosity. And then they start thinking, uncle question, we have a question here. And just, children are naturally curious. And when I think about I don't see it as different from what's happening in society, to be honest. So if you train children to be curious, in a way within the educational system, they will also be curious using AI as well. So I think for me, it's like what is fundamental is that the problem of the society also transfers to the high. The challenges of the society transfers to the user the high. So I think, for me, it's a blend between the two as well. So whatever ways, if somebody is not confident in real life, there's a tendency that they might do the same using AI as well in that way. So there's a connection between the two as well. And that's why I think the read and the process is very important in building the solution.
Awesome. Wow, that was a really good story to share and quite inspiring for me. So, Elinor, our academy is built on intelligence with intention, using AI ethically and purposefully. So, from your work with industry standards, how do professionals ensure their AI use is both effective and ethical?
What a big question. I think for me, boiling this down in the context of AI in particular and being, intentional about it, the key observation for me is, as Toby said, the tech moves so fast.
Yeah.
So I think we have to reprogram when we get new tech and we're going to use it. Say in a professional environment, like in your question. What assumptions can we make and can't we make about the tech? And I think a key one, my main message is, don't assume it's all tested and perfect, because it's moving fast. I think we as a human race are still catching up each time there's a development as to what the possible implications are of it.
Yeah.
And I share a story of something that happened earlier this year as an illustration. But it's really just underlining the message. Don't assume it's all fixed. Ask the questions. If it doesn't feel right to you, or it doesn't feel, have we been clear enough about the goal? Do we know what we're trying to do? And have we thought about unintended consequences? We should, be doing that in projects anyway. And I can see some folk on the line from my old team who've had lots of experience of doing this in operational environments. And so, absolutely the same thing is, think about the unintended consequences, but it's moving quicker, so that there are likely to be more of them. And the story is, earlier this year in May, the AI firm Anthropic were testing their new system. And their new system was a frontier model, so large language model called Claude Opus 4. And what they did was exactly that. They said, let's try and understand the unintended consequences when we launch this. And so they set up a test for the AI. And the test was that the AI is installed in a fictitious company as their large language model, chatbot support for the employees. And then they gave the chatbot access to all the emails in this fictitious company. And then there was an employee who had been given the task of looking at replacing the AI because it's too expensive, and looking for another one. Now, the AI was also given the information that this employee was having an affair. And basically the AI, through iterating, trying to work out what it wanted to do, started blackmailing the employee in order to try and make sure that it wasn't taken off the system. Now, that's an AI that was given a goal of, be here and do the most work here you can, and saw something that was a threat to that, and therefore was not given boundary conditions on what was acceptable and what wasn't in order to achieve its goal. And so, and by the way, it wasn't, I think, we should applaud the use of that type of test. It wasn't just Anthropic that applies to. That type of behavior is something that can happen in any of the those types
absolutely.
of frontier models. So I would say there's a good lesson for us all on whatever scale we're working. Ask the questions about what could go wrong and test them.
Wow, that is some story. You almost feel sorry for that person, and you just feel that it's not real. It's a test.
Yeah, it's not real.
It's okay.
It's not real, and it's a good job it's been done as a test. So then,
As a
you know,
test.
the risk is understood. Yeah, it can be mitigated.
Oh yeah. Thank you. Abena, in public sector work, how do you apply AI ethics or ethical AI principles in practice?
Okay, so in my local council, we have already started talking about using AI to enhance human decision making rather than to replace human decision making. We have the Nolan principles within public life, and this is an extension of it. So it doesn't stop because we're using AI to make these decisions, but as a public body, what's really important is that we involve the community in things that we're doing and actually get their ideas and their viewpoints. So even if we are using AI to make those decisions, we make sure that everything is transparent and we and the public are aware of that, but also the public can have their additional input as well. So providing training to the staff on AI literacy as well. That's very, very important, especially because the things that people make decisions on in public life and in local government and in national government actually make an impact on other people's lives and can make an immediate impact on people's lives. It's really important that people learn how to use the AI responsibly. So those are some of the things that we're working on, but it's still early days.
Nice, thank you. Abena, Hamed. So when working with vulnerable communities, what ethical framework guides your AI implementation? Sorry, you're mute.
Yeah, again, when we think about ethical frameworks, I think it's also something that is also like co-created as well, because when I was building, everything that I built was based on, an experience of over 7 years. It wasn't just like building the solution. It was the
Yeah,
engagement that I've had with young people because this was like a career counselor and advisor. So when we kind of like even have the conversation, it's like, the consent before the conversation. It's like, the suggestion, you're not just saying, okay, you have to like, this is your career, this is what you should follow. You're like, okay, I think you may try this. I think you may try this, based on those conversations that we've had with those young people. So it's transferring all of those things that we're doing manually into the AI we're building. So we're building the AI. So we use that model of this conversation we've had, to build, the AI solution in a way that is also accessible. And imagine that you're building a solution, you're not even putting it on like a web app, you're putting it on WhatsApp, right? In fact, that's one of the first ethical considerations that you want it to be accessible to everybody, because what's the essence of building a tech solution and AI solution where it's not accessible to everyone? And I've seen people like build AI solution and nobody can even access it. The moment you get into login, you will just like lose hope and be like, I don't want to use this anymore. But with just a single click, you're already chatting and it's kind of like protected by the end-to-end encryption of like WhatsApp, for example. And as you're chatting, it's interactive. Again, like I said, it was the manual process that we transferred into building this model. So it's kind of like interactive, asking questions, having that conversation, not kind of like you feel that you're having a conversation, you feel that you're chatting with, you're connecting, and at the end of the day, you have like career suggestions based on those conversations that you've had. So I feel like, if you want to build like an AI solution, for me, it's more or less like, how are we going to be even ethical when we're talking to somebody else normally? How do you want to listen? How do you want to have all of those kind of like conversation? And it's transferring every of those things into the AI solution. And I think that, because children are curious or young people are curious, it's we know that people would use it for something else.
yeah.
That's why I think, guardrails are important, right? So, in terms of like when, children put some certain kind of like words, or when young people put some certain kind of like text, we kind of like then signal, the test and be like, bring them back to the career conversation because it's a generative career advisor. So it kind of like brings it back. So there was something that happened recently that one of the young people actually tested the solution, was working on the solution and asked for the football score for today. And as he did like the football score for today, it brought it back that, oh, this AI is not created to provide you football score. However, if you're interested in football, let's chat. So kind of like that guardrails in there. So it's like figuring out a way where we can, use AI kind of like positively in a way and thinking about in advance what
Yes.
people they ask. So, and then you put all of those guardrails in place because, we might think that we are creating AI for good, but it might also be doing harm as well on the other hand. So it's like, how do we ensure that we, when we are creating purpose specific AI, that we're also considering of like what young people are thinking, and it comes with like the interaction, it comes with the engagement to build all
Yeah.
of this and all of this ethical framework for how the AI solution is being used. So I think those are the things I'll probably share. That one is like first it has to be co-created, you have to engage. One is looking at what are the manual process, how would it be done manually, and how do you bring that into AI. And thirdly, it's more of like, ensuring that you have adequate guardrails so that, AI is not used for the other things rather than for good. So I think these are like the three key things that I'll probably share when it comes to like ethical framework yeah. And I think it can still be better, to be honest. Like it can be better in terms of like how do people even withdraw from the AI solution that I don't want to chat anymore, right? Just as how people will withdraw consent, when they kind of like, give
Yeah.
consent. So it's like it can be better. I don't think the ethical framework at the moment is the best, but I feel that it can be better as well. And for me, it's like that constant learning journey as well. So make it better as well in this way.
Absolutely. Thank you. That is beautifully said and well elaborated as well. Thank you very much. I'm just realizing we've got just about 20 minutes before the hour, and so we might cut short some of our questions. So I'll move on to question 3, but to all our audience, if you have any questions, please put that in the chat window. So I'll move on to, very quickly, we want to see AI in action across industries. So Toby, if you can start, could you please share a specific example of AI transformation in any industry? But I'm thinking healthcare.
Okay, healthcare. I'll give you my coolest use case. Well, there's so many good ones in healthcare. I'll give you 2, and I'll give you a good news and bad news story. So the one I'm working on at the moment is using an approach called synthetic data and generative adversarial networks to identify undiagnosed patient populations around the world. Okay, and it's super cool. It's built off a spine of NHS data, but what that means is we can identify patient groups around the world that may not be have previously been discovered, and we're actually testing it on diabetes in Mali.
Wow.
Because how many people have got diabetes in Mali? Answer, nobody knows, but we know it's growing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what that enables is 3 things. It enables a reallocation of healthcare resources for the local healthcare organizations. It enables drug companies and pharma companies to identify new markets and treat patients, and also people financing healthcare to understand burden of disease, progression of disease better. Super cool, love it. And we need more AI use cases like that.
I love it.
Another one, which is good and bad, and I'll tell you a little bit of a story. And this is a long time ago now. This is before you and I worked together, Madeline. But was the first breast cancer detection computer vision algorithm was done with I'm not going to name the company, but done in UCL in London. It was amazing. The problem was that the healthcare system wasn't ready to adapt the intelligence that had come from the early detection of breast cancer, which would have been fine if they'd gone into development. But the company who built the algorithm promoted the fact that they'd made this unbelievable discovery using computer vision, which I thought was wholly unethical. because it increased the hope of patients and populations without there being a real desire and effective testing of deploying the algorithm. So I give you those because there's a wide range there of amazing, groundbreaking things we can do on global health with AI and are doing right now, together with where the technology can do things, but unless it's handled responsibly and ethically in terms of its deployment, we actually can create a negative experience amongst populations. So there's a couple, but I can bore you to death on AI algorithms in healthcare. But anyway, there you go.
No, you can't bore us, Toby. Those are awesome examples as well. Thank you for sharing them. Back to you, Hamed. What about education?
I was just about to like respond to Toby as well that I think
Awesome. Go for it.
I think that's why feedback loop is very important, when you're building a solution that, it's not just
Yeah.
a solution and allowing people to just go on and use it. And I think it's very important to, offer like that feedback loop in between that, when we create an AI solution, it's not just for people to figure it out on their own, it's also to ask for feedback, and sometimes there are some feedback that are difficult to take, right? I've seen people who say like, okay, this is shitty. I've seen people who say like, this is what I feel about this. And I'm like, yeah, please bring it on, bring all the feedback, and I think, feedback makes us better in a way that it improves, the kind of solution we create. And I think that's why when you build, AI solution, it's very important to understand that rigor in between. And I think, when we think about education, right, I feel like education is one of the best use cases when you think about an AI solution and when you think about even the scale, when you think about the scale of the problem as well, because for example, there are like millions of young people out of school in Africa, for example. In fact, at the moment, there are about 100 million underserved and displaced young people who don't have access to jobs or opportunities, right, around the continent. So that scale is high, right?
Yeah.
And when we want to create a solution, we need to create a solution that also match that at scale as well. And I think for me, that was the whole idea around Graffiti AI because I didn't have access to career counselors in school. I didn't have any kind of like career guidance. I had to rely on mentors on the streets somewhere. And there are many kids out there who don't have access to career counselor, who don't have access to career advisor, who don't have access to career guidance. And, how do we then solve this problem, right? So it's like, how do we make sure that schools that never had career counselor can now have one? And that was the idea around Rafiki. It's like, how do we, create an AI solution that is powered, on generative AI and it's on WhatsApp and young people can have access to career counselor. And, in just like 5 months of launch, we have over 7,000 users and it has answered over 30,000 career related queries and it has exchanged over 66,000 messages. And it's currently being used in 54
That's
countries. In
amazing.
fact, more recently, I saw we had a user from Yemen, and I'm like, that's somebody maybe in a refugee camp in Yemen somewhere using
Yeah.
vision. And for me, that's what it means to create something that gives people something else to believe in. There's a young person, also who was like in his first year in the university and was struggling to combine music and language and art together. And because of Rafiki, it's like, I've been finding solutions to this problem for a very, very long time. And now they have solution through that interactive chat with this AI solution, right? And we're thinking that, it's okay to build something and allow people to use it, but what if we get it into the education system itself? So what we did was that we trained 27 school leaders who ended up training, 70 teachers in low-income schools within Nigeria. And those 70 teachers are now using the AI solution in their classroom. So if a child is struggling to identify, they help the children in the classroom to understand their strengths. So now they are not trained career counselor, but they have an AI that could guide them, into career counseling in their classroom. And I think, when we think about AI, we need to think about integration. There are some certain things that AI is good at. There are some certain things that humans should be good at. It's that kind of like, is it center hall? I don't know, but it's like how, there's something AI is very good at, there's something that humans is very good at. And for those teachers, it's now complementing their activities in the classroom where they could actually prepare personalized learning for their students and support them in their area of interest. So I think, there are like so many good cases, but based on my own experience and based on my work, I just want to share how, people are currently using, rapid AI, for example. And I'm open to learning. Like, I always tell people my team, like, give me more feedback. I tell people were using it, like just load them with feedbacks, because that's when you kind of like improve what you've created. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. So I'm going to go into the chat, and whilst I'm looking at the questions in the chat window, Elinor and Abena,
Yes.
do you have something to share on this very subject in terms of examples from your industry?
I've got a quick one. I wanted to highlight the work of somebody else, actually. Check out a lady called Damilola Ogunbiyi. She is the CEO of Sustainable Energy for All, and she is also the special representative to the UN Secretary General on Sustainable Energy for All. And so one example of what her organisation has done is developed an open source AI model that's called Modelling Urban Growth, that takes satellite data, geographic data, demographics, infrastructure information, and helps decision makers prioritise which communities need support in the future for electrification and energy services. And it's being used currently in 11 countries in Africa, including Nigeria, Kenya, Ghana, and Tanzania.
Awesome.
So
Nice.
yeah, check out Damilola.
Definitely. And Abena, any quick one to share before we go into the questions in the chat window?
Well, I found out that in Singapore, they've got this GovTech chatbots that handle millions of inquiries and across 70 government websites, and they've cut call center workload by 50% by using that. So obviously the call centers can now deal with more high level issues, because I'm sure in a call center you get the same questions over and over again. The chatbots can deal with those, and then the more difficult things can be dealt with by the humans.
Awesome. This is great. And just to say, we don't have enough time, but the next webinar is going to be AI in action. So AI in action, there's going to be lots of awesome use cases to share. And I know this is our first session, so there's always going to be hiccups. So I'll look at the first question in the chat window, which is from Nana. And his question is, I'm concerned about using AI responsibly in my work, especially with sensitive data. How do I make sure I'm not introducing bias or making mistakes that could harm my clients or organizations? Anyone wants to take this one?
I think I might know about the right
Sure.
answer.
Okay.
But I think one of the things is to think about, like, how would you actually know, like, as an individual, how would you not include bias in your work, right? So it's how, you kind of like bring all of those approaches into the way you say hi. So how do you protect people's data when you're kind of like feeding something into like a chatbot, for example?
Yeah.
How are you hiding key information, putting this into a chatbot, for example? How are you making sure that you're not putting some information that might be biased as well in between? So it's like that reflexivity. So for me, it's like, you're bringing reflexivity, you're bringing criticality, you're bringing all of those things into an AI. Or if an AI even gives you a particular solution or idea, it's how do you also push back with that as well, like to be like, okay, I don't think this is correct. It's kind of like you're measuring, you're watching, you're looking. You're like the human on the wheel. That's why it's called AI. Should not have control by us. We should have control by AI. We are the humans on the wheel. We are the ones steering the wheel, and we are the one controlling things in between. And it's how we kind of like engage with the AI solution, because AI also want to tell us what we want to hear, and it kind of like reflects what is already happening in society. So the responses might reflect the biases that is already existing in society in terms of gender, in terms of like inequality, in terms of like every other thing. So it's left for us to like see those information with just a face value and be like, let me criticize it a little bit, let me push back a little bit, let me look at it from another perspective. And I think, using all of those kind of like reflexivity and criticality, it's a way we can actually deal with this. But that's like my own thinking, because that's the way I've kind of like used it as well. It's not taking everything, but it's like pushing back criticality, asking questions, challenging the responses that I get, and in a way I get what I want. Even sometimes when I ask AI to call me, I'm like, okay, I don't think, this is okay. Could you make sure I'm in the scoring of this? So it's like, it's those engagements. I think that's one way to go. But I think also like anonymizing people's information. I think it's very important, when we kind of like use AI, using maybe even pseudonyms and all sort of things as well when we put people information on the bots.
I just
Thank
wanted to
you.
add that, oh, Elinor, did you want to say something?
I was going to
Did you
say a
start
very
coming?
quick,
Go on.
yes, but okay. I love what you said, Hamid. I completely agree, and I would summarize it very quickly as saying, worry about the data. No, all data is biased, so you're never going to have an answer which is unbiased. So the trick is to try and figure out what's likely to be wrong, how you can test for it, and when using data, absolutely second what Hamid said, which is be very concerned about the privacy and the integrity of the data. So quite often things screw up just because the data's rubbish, not even that it's biased. It's just, it's not clean, or it contains stuff that you shouldn't be sharing or whatever. So data hygiene, and then think about how you can test for the types of things that you're concerned about in the bias, because there will be bias there. No data is unbiased.
That's so true.
Okay, so
Um,
what I wanted to talk about was that as humans, we are biased already, and the data set is based on information that was being provided by humans. So there is going to be bias there. One of a really, really practical thing that you could do is obviously have a prompt, but then do the absolute opposite of what you wanted to see it from the other spectrum, the other end. Because what happens a lot with humans in general is that we are in an echo chamber, and what the data will do is it will give you the answer that you want based on the way that you worded it, of course. So if you word it slightly differently, the opposite of what you want, you'll have a more varied point. But also it's really worth, perhaps if you can use different AI sorts of software, because again, there'll be different data sets that it's built on. And then also platforms like Microsoft Responsible AI has a dashboard which you can use to detect bias. But really, I think it should start with the human. So I always talk about garbage in, garbage out, and I was talking about that yesterday with
yeah.
Magda when we went to a roundtable. The most important thing is not to put the garbage in the first place, because what the computer will do is base whatever output with the input that you originally gave. So before you start inputting the data, test your bias as a human being. Think about, Carmen talks about fast and slow thinking. If you automatically went to a certain point of view, slow your thinking down and think, what would somebody who does not have my background, does not have my experience, possibly think about this? And perhaps, as I said, ask the question based on that person rather than you. So you can get a varied sort of answer rather than an answer which is what basically you're looking for, because your questioning itself is biased in itself.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Abena. That was really helpful. We've got just 5 minutes to go and a few more questions, so I'll be very quick. Toby, I think this question might be good for you. As a technical professional, I understand the tools, but I'm struggling with the bigger picture. How do I use architect AI solutions that integrate with existing systems and scale effectively?
Wow. Okay. Let me break that one down into two parts. I heard about the bigger picture, and I heard about
Yeah,
architecting effectively, integrating with other systems. Um, I do see this a lot actually from technical experts, is that they focus on the execution of the technical thing because the technical thing is new, right? So
yeah,
think of Gen A, large language models, or compound AI systems, or whatever. And the lose track of what they're trying to do it for, where's this trying to go? And I think this comes back to some of the other comments that other people have made around the ethics and that's kind of things. You really have to have a clear view on North Star. And I'm finding that a lot with a lot of chatbot systems at the moment. It's okay. What's the purpose, and how are we trying to
yeah,
control this?
yeah,
So I think it's good to keep going back to that North Star and using classic design thinking techniques. And there are various other techniques. I use things like the golden circle, which is the why, how, what, as a way of maintaining North Star, and then
yeah.
constantly relating technical development back to that. So that's just some practical techniques for doing it. But I, once you're in the technical zone, once you're training and you're doing inference and all the rest of it, it's you can get lost pretty quickly. The other piece, and I think this is the most exciting area of AI right now. I don't think it's large language models. Is these thing called compound AI systems. And building on some of the topics mentioned previously around quality of data and those other things, really being able to drive some of these use cases require systems integration, right? So I'll give you a really simple one. Okay, we're in 2026 in 6 weeks' time or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I still can't search my emails of 10 years worth of emails, right? So we can use large language models, but I can't effectively look at, build a model on my email base easily. And the reason is because we have different systems that haven't necessarily exposed my email training data to a language model, so we'd be able to do that. Or if you're in a company, it might be the finance data, or it might be the employee data, or heaven forbid in the healthcare situation, patient data, which requires all different things. So more and more, I'm seeing a situation which is almost like old-fashioned software development, where the quality and rigor of the API and the integration technology is critical to being able to move data around to train and deploy effective AI systems. That's when, and that is a key element of going from pilot to production. I'm describing 2025 as the year that the world started piloting AI. It's not the year that the world is getting value from AI. Okay.
Yes.
So there is a lot to do on data infrastructure. There's a lot to do on policy and guidance and frameworks. And there's a lot to do with systems integration, all less attractive stuff, but all critical to make these systems work. And there is no fear of robots taking over the world, AGI, losing our jobs, anything else, until we tackle all of that hard stuff. And we're eons away from tackling that hard stuff. So I think there's two parts. One is, maintaining the North Star, some techniques for maintaining that when you're going through it. And the other part is architecting good systems requires integrations into other technologies and data sets.
Awesome. Thank you
Very
so
nice.
much.
And can I just say, I totally second that. Robots can't even really open doors yet.
That's a good one.
My children can't even open doors yet, so let alone robots. Anyway,
they'll learn. They might learn quicker than the robots, though, Toby.
you haven't met my children. Anyway.
Okay, so I'll make this one very quick. I would want each of our speakers to give us just one answer, one sentence to this question. I'm a busy professional juggling multiple priorities. Realistically, how much time do I need to invest weekly to build genuine AI capability, not just surface level knowledge? So not more than one sentence. Elinor, do you want to go first?
Will Durant quoted in his book about Aristotle, "We are what we do repeatedly." So excellent. Keep going, even if it's a short amount of time. I think you can do something. It's more about keeping the rhythm going.
Awesome. Abena, do you want to go next?
Yep, I would say I agree with that, but I always like to go back to evidence and research. So McKinsey's 2025 report shows that employees who spend 2 to 4 hours per week on AI-related tasks on learning see measurable improvements in productivity and confidence. So 2 to 4 hours.
Awesome. Toby, do you want to go next, please?
So I was going to start even lower. I love 2 to 4 hours, but if you can do an hour a week, you can make progress.
Nice. And who's left? Hamid.
I think for me, it's also like having a why. I think where the why drives you, because once the why drives you, you just run crazy, to be honest. Like, that was the way I got into the whole AI thing. It was me, like, having a why. I've been being curious and just exploring and just exploring and just exploring. And then before you know, you're like, kind of like in it already. So I think it's more or less like, what's your domain of interest, and finding that out and using AI to, like, use that as an entry point to actually learn and build and just be curious and have a why for it.
Perfect. This is great. So hopefully everyone's taking something out of it, and I really appreciate all the input from all the speakers. Hopefully you can still see my screen. We will just wrap up very quickly because I know we have run over time. There you go. Okay, so we've got a program we're going to run from the start of this November. It's our AI Confidence Builder program. We've got a 6-week structured pathway with private community access and a certificate of completion. We'll have access to weekly live Q&A sessions, practical tool tutorials, and lifetime access to materials. So you have speakers and also trainers like Abena, who is one of our speakers today, and some of our other panelists will be part of our tutors. So if you're interested in being part of this 6 weeks program, do reach out. In a bit more detail, is 6 weeks. First 2 weeks is going to be all about AI foundations and practical tools. The third to fourth week is going to be about industry applications and ethics. So this is where we make sure that what you're getting is unique to your industry. We understand that you're all professionals, so we need to make sure what you're getting helps to make you more effective in your work, in your industry. We'll bring it to your industry and also the ethics in that space. We'll also look at the advanced techniques and leadership you require in week 5 and 6. So by the end of the entire program of 6 weeks, you've built foundation, you've got industry application, you've got the ethical framework, you've got the advanced techniques, and you're equipped to take on that leadership role within your business. We will typically say 2 to 3 weeks, 2 to 3 hours per week is required, is self-paced, and you will have live support. Imagine having the likes of Abena helping you. So what do you need to do next? So we have a 7-day AI confidence challenge for you. After this program, after this talk, don't put it on the side. Start with taking our free AI readiness assessment. I'll put the details in the chat window right after. It's typically £150, but we're offering it for free. You have a personalized learning roadmap. After that, try one AI tool for a real world task and document your experience and results. Please, I'm not talking about ChatGPT, okay? There's so many awesome tools out there you need to explore that will help you. Then share and learn, share your experience with a colleague, share on our AI confidence community, join our AI confidence community. I'm really excited for this one. And finally, book a free 30 minutes consultation and enroll in our AI confidence builder. So I will share the link for you to have your free 30 minutes consultation, either as an individual or as an organization. We do provide training for either a department or for a team, and then of course for individuals too. But for today, what is important is that you understand the AI Academy is live. We're here to support you in any angle you want to proceed. We're here. And do send your questions to me. I'll put in our feedback form as well in the chat window shortly. So for the next 24 working hours, okay, not Saturday, Sunday, we are providing an exclusive discount for the AI Confidence Builder program. So for 6 weeks, structured learning pathways with the live Q&A sessions, private community, and the certificate of completion, you will be paying £360 for that program, and that is discounted by £90. We do also provide exclusive VIP, so you will have a link to register for episode 2 of our webinar, which is AI in Action, and do look forward to that. If you enjoyed this talk with Hamed and Toby and Elinor and Abena, you should definitely join the next session. So in the interest of time, I would say a big thank you to our speakers, a massive thank you to our attendees for our inaugural webinar. We will be sharing the recording once I put them all together, and you should have access to it so you can listen back. And I will be putting all the useful links in the chat window shortly. Also look out for episode 2, which is AI in Action webinar. Thank you so much, and see you soon.
Thank you. Yeah, bye everybody. Great to meet
Thanks.
you,
Bye,
Abena.
folks.
Bye.
You too.
Hi, lovely to meet you.